I'll let you take it away.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much. So, like Jasmine said, I'm an optimizer here at Vine Skills, and I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. So, one moment. Alrighty. And I want to start off with the advanced customs editor for our document management portion. And the reason behind that is because I think one of the most important things when it comes to document management is making sure that we have a project folder template set up ahead of time. This is going to keep the documents consistent in regards to organization. So if we have pre-built folders set up um, in the beginning, then we won't have random folders, being named the same way, but meaning the same thing. So let's go ahead and talk about that really briefly. So, in order to set up the folders, you do need org admin access and you need access to the advanced tool menu. And then once you're in the advanced menu, you go into the customs editor and you have a couple of tabs. So the tab we want to focus on right now is the folders tab, and this is where you're going to be able to set up your project folder template. In the event that you would want to set up, let's say, subfolders, we can do that as well. So if you know during the intake stage, you are also collecting injury photos, you can set up that folder like so, and I want to make sure that it goes underneath the intake folder, and I'm going to click on this check mark, and now it's going to be underneath the intake folder that says injury photos. So that's the first step, just making sure that you have a project folder template set up. And please note that anytime you make updates to the project folder template, it's only going to apply to new projects moving folder. It will not apply to the old projects that were already created with the older project folder template. But when we go into the customs editor sections portion, I will let you know what it will do. So let's go ahead and go to the sections tab. Oh, let's go ahead and save this first. All right, let's go to the sections tab and let's go into intake. And I'm going to make sure that my scene photos go into the scene folder that we created. So right now, what I'm seeing is that my anytime I upload photos of the scene area, it's going to auto move to the um, intake scene photos folder. So this is what we want to make sure is also mapped within your fields. So anytime you have a field type that's a multiple file attachment field, or a regular file attachment field, or a docgen widget, you're going to have the option to auto move that file to a folder. And so that's going to be one of the things you want to make sure that it's set up in the back end, where if there's certain files that get attached to a field in a section, that it's being moved to its proper folder. And that way, when they are being attached to the section or to the field, it's going to the correct place. And so that's how we make sure that it auto moves. And not only can we set it up to auto move to a folder, we can also set it up to auto tag a photo. So for example, if we want the scene photos to be hashtagged, we can do hashtag scene photos. And this is helpful for reporting purposes. If you ever need to report on how many cases do we have scene photos for, or if you want to quickly search for it within the documents section. And so let's say there's a scene photo that gets uploaded and it has various digits and it's not renamed. If as long as it at least has the auto tag that tags it as a scene photo, someone will be able to pull it up. And so once that's done, once we auto tag it, we say it's going to go into scene photos, then we can update it. And for whatever reason, it's not allowing me to update it for the hashtag auto tag.
You didn't save it. So with the auto tags, you have to, if it's not created, you have to create. So when you typed it in, if you put like an S at the end of the photos, that thing will pop up. So if it's not in there, you'll create a new auto tag. If you don't see that as an option, it's likely that you don't have permission to create new auto tags. That's a whole separate area in Filevine that you need permissions for. So you'll be able to essentially search for photos or search for tags that are already created and use those. If you need one created and don't see that, you'll have to reach out to a different admin that has those permissions. But once you create it or add it in, it'll show up gray or whatever color you've chosen for that tag there. And you can add more than one if you'd like. So if you're like, I also want this to say intake docs or intake photos or just photos in general, you can add whatever you kind of need to there. And you'll see like there's already intake docs. You just click that one, it's already created. And then you can update from there.
Yes, thank you so much, Jasmine. Great call out. So, like Jasmine said, we would want to make sure that we create the tags in order to be able to add it as an auto tag, but you might not have permissions for that sometimes. So, in that case, absolutely reach out to someone who does. So let's go ahead and just update that. And so now what's going to happen is any time that we attach scene photos, it's going to be saved automatically to the scene photos subfolder and will be automatically tagged. So now we're going to go ahead and jump over to the document section within your project. And
And sorry,
so
Stacey, just one additional note there. If, because you mentioned, hey, if I make updates to the folder structure, it's only going to be for projects moving forward. The like one exception is if you've mapped it. So if Stacy would have mapped that new folder she created to the scene photos and uploaded a document there, it will create that folder for you. So just keep that in mind.
that is correct. So I can give you guys a quick example of what that means. So currently right now, it doesn't look like we have an intake folder. So since I told the system that I want the scene photos to be saved in an intake folder and a subfolder called scene photos, then what we're going to do is I'm going to just refresh just in case. So I'm going to go ahead and upload the photos of the scene and area. So let's go ahead and add those. And I'm going to upload it to my intake section. Here are all my scene photos. It's going to upload, and then I'm going to click on save. And so now these photos the idea is going to be that it's not only going to be auto tagged, but it should be saved and moved to a scene photos folder. So let's gonna go ahead and go to the documents section. And I'm going to refresh just in case. And so now my intake folder appears, and I click on that, and my subfolder scene photos appears, and now all my scene photos are not only tagged intake documents, but they're also tagged scene photos. And so if for whatever reason someone needs to search for those photos, they can do hashtag photos, and it should pop up when we search it up. Alrighty. So currently, I am in the view of the old project docs, but I want to introduce the new project docs that was recently released by Filevine. So let's go ahead and toggle that on. It's going to be right underneath your vitals, or if you have this caret drop down, it's going to be right underneath your these vitals here. So once you turn it on, it's going to look a little different. And it also allows for a couple of things for you to be able to do that you weren't able to do with the old project docs. So, one of the biggest changes that I've seen is that now you can move documents to a folder or copy documents to a folder without needing to open the folder navigation view, but also only if you are in the list view. So currently there are two views. One is the list view and one is the thumbnail view. So when you are in the list view, you can move or copy documents to specific folders within this window. So let's go ahead and say we want to move this document over to intake. So then we can move it and move it over to intake without needing to open the folder navigation. Now, currently, when I move this, it's going to open a window that's asking me, are you sure? Or do you want to move this document or do you want to copy this document? So let's go ahead and try to move it. And so I get my window that's asking me to copy the document or to move it. There is a way to bypass this window, and that's by clicking on Shift, um, or clicking on the document, then pressing Shift or Control. So Shift will move the document and Control will copy it. So we'll go ahead and move this one. And then we'll use the shortcut to move another document. So we can move this. And you want to make sure you click on the dots here. And then we click Shift. And so Shift will move it, and we can see that little message above the document that says a little arrow and it has move items. Or we can click on Control and it will copy the items. And if you have a Mac, you'll click Command. And so now you can copy it wherever it needs to go. Another neat thing that now this list view has is the columns here. So it will tell you whether it was updated by a person, when it was updated, and their file size. And the default will have these columns, but it will not have the tags column. So if you want to see the tags associated with the document, you will have to click on the configure menu and then select the tags or unselect them, depending on what you want to see. And you can also move these columns. So if you want to see the updated date first, you can move the column to see that. Or if you want to see the file size first, for whatever reason, you can move it to be the first column you see. I believe you cannot move the file names. So this column you cannot move. And you also cannot remove. And, and there's a pretty good reason why, because you always want to see, you be able to see the file names and what it is that you're looking at. Um, and then another thing that was added is specifically for emails. So if I go into my emails here, there is more columns that I can add in regards to this. So if I click on configure again, and right now these email columns are disabled, but let's say I want to be able to see who this email is from, who it was sent to, and when it was sent. So those are some things that I want to be able to see in regards to emails. Then I'm going to go ahead and select those columns, apply the selection, and now I'm able to see, okay, who was this email from and who was sent to, without having to click on this and then click on the information to see like any specifics, or to be able to see the preview. So the preview will tell me who it was from, but sometimes you can't really see it. So then you'll have to load the full preview to be able to see who sent it and when it was sent. So this is just a neat way to be able to see it on the front end. And also, if you ever need to filter your emails to be able to see, I want to see all the emails that came from Filevine. And so what you do is you filter, and then you can select email from Filevine. And now I apply those filters, and now I'm able to see all the emails that are from Filevine. And so it didn't work exactly the way I was hoping for. Oh, apply filters. There we go. Give me one moment. There we go. I had to click enter for my keyword, and now it shows up right here, and now I can apply it. And now these are all my emails from Filevine. And so those are a couple of the new tools that now we have when it comes to the docs section. Again, now you can configure what you're able to see based on your preference. And this is what is known as just like the list view. Now let's go ahead and look at the thumbnail view. So when you click on that thumbnail view, there are a couple things you can no longer use. You can no longer use the configure option or the filter option. So now you're able to only see the folders and you're able to look at the files in a thumbnail view. You also cannot move it. So in order to move, if you're in this view and if you want to move a file, you are going to have to use that folder navigation view and then move it that way. And so moving it over to the folders within that folder navigation view. Um, so that's just a couple of updates there. And then now what I want to move over to is creating a new folder as well as creating links to folders. So let's go ahead and I'm going to stay in this view for now. And in order to create a new folder, what you want to do is you want to have this navigation view on. That's typically, for me, like the best way to do it. And so if you click on a folder, you get the option to create a new folder or rename it. And you can also create a subfolder within another folder. So you just click on the folder where you want to create a subfolder and then you click on new folder. If you notice, our main folder doesn't have the option to share a folder, but once you click on these new or the subfolders, then you get the options to share a folder if you would like. And so what I if for whatever reason you need to share all like the entire file with someone, then what I typically recommend is within Filevine in this window here, you're going to click on Shift, and then you're going to select everything within this window to be able to create a link to share it. And so currently, right now, we've only selected 16 documents in one folder, but typically you want to be able to. There we go. So you're going to click on Shift, and then you're going to use your mouse to just select all of the folders that you want to share in the event that you want to share everything with co-counsel perhaps, or with maybe someone doesn't have access to Filevine one day, one of your coworkers, and they just need a link to the entire file to be able to see um, the documents while they don't have internet or something. So that's going to be one way to go ahead and select everything. And then once you select everything, then you can create the link to the entire file.
And just a note, share document links are only you'll only see them one way. The folders you're able to do two-way sharing, so the other person would also be able to share documents with you. So if you're looking for them to be able to share documents, you might want to add all of the documents to maybe a shared folder and share that out instead of creating share links for each individual one. So there's a few ways that you can get the information out, just depending on what you want that end result to be.
Exactly. So if you want to go ahead and let's go ahead and do the share link for a folder. Let's say you want to share the medical folder. You're going to click on this link, new share link for medical, and then you're going to use the enable two-way sharing. And so this will only work if you have the password enabled, and then you're going to have to share that password in order to share it. And now they'll be able to drop files into the folder. Okay.
Stacy, there's a question. Is there a way to go back and see what docs have a share link in the past and or when the share link was created?
Yeah, there is. So let's just create a link now so we can show how that looks. So I'm going to create this link, share it, new share link, and I'm just going to do it for anyone with the link, and it's going to expire in 7 days, and I'm going to share it and close out. And so one, we know it's shared either through a link or if it's shared through like giving a guest permission to a folder or document, because it'll have a little person icon here. And then, so once you have the properties flyout open on the right side, not only does it give you some information about the folder itself, but if you click on this link here, it also gives you the history of the links that were created. So this tells me that I created the link and I created on this date at this time, and this is when it expires. If someone else created the link, then I would see this was created by Jasmine on this day at this time. What it does not tell you is it does not tell you who you have shared that folder with. So what I typically like to do is I try to keep, like, if I'm sharing something with an external party or I've shared it with opposing counsel, I like to rename the folder, whatever folder I'm sharing, and have it say shared with opposing counsel or something, to be able to tell someone, hey, this folder is being shared with this entity or with this client or with opposing counsel. That way, also, people know that whatever is being shared with, whoever the entity is, any documents that get added after that, as long as it's still being shared, the opposing counsel, the expert client will be able to see those files that you are adding to the folder. So I think that's, personally, for me, it's really important to know who we share things with. So I think that's a good way to be able to label, hey guys, this folder is being shared with this person. Um, and if I can also provide another tip, when we are sharing internally, I would recommend that you share the URL to the document and not creating a link. And the reason behind that is because if you create a link to a document that you need to share with someone internally, and perhaps you guys don't really use like the side chat, then I would recommend copying the URL of that document. So what I mean by that is I'm going to click on this document and I'm going to share this link here to my coworker. And whether you guys use email or whether you guys use mainly Teams or Slack to communicate with each other, then I would recommend using the URL. So when someone puts that URL into their browser, they can now do whatever they need to do within the document, and if you need them to edit it, they can edit it in all in one place using the same exact document, rather than sharing it, because if you share it through the link, they'll be able to see the document, but let's say they need to make any edits, then they're going to have to download the document, make the edits, and then resave, instead of just editing it in place. But like I said, there's a couple ways to do that. You can either share the URL link to the document, or you can also use the side chat. So there's a couple ways to do that. So you will either select the document, click on these little three dots, and then click on start new sidebar, and now you can start a chat with someone, and you can add the document to the chat and say, hey Jasmine, I need you to help me draft this complaint. And so when I send that to Jasmine, not only is she going to get the message, but she also has the attachment that she can work with. And when she selects it, she can edit it all in one place, while using the same document. And so that's one way to do it. And we usually recommend the side chat for immediate help. So, like, if I need Jasmine to take a look at it right away because who knows, maybe I have a deadline today where I need to send it out, this is one way to send it. Or if it's something that can um, wait for a couple of days, then what you can do instead is you can note this. So what this does is it will post it into the activity feed, and you can either just make a comment onto the activity feed, like just note it saying, I am working on this doc, but need help drafting complaint. And then you can task someone or you can mention someone. So if you're just want to mention someone, like, hey Jasmine, can you help me? You can either do that, or you can actually assign it to Jasmine if it's something that perhaps, or not just Jasmine, but to your colleague, if perhaps they're typically the ones who, let's say, are in charge of reviewing something, then you can assign it to them. And now, once you go ahead and you create that task or you note it, so let's go ahead and click on create task. This will show up on the activity feed. So I'm going to jump over there. And now Jasmine has a task to look at this document. And again, once she selects it, she's going to be able to edit it. And we're still working off of the same document. There's no different versions going around. It's still the same one. And so open up in a different screen. One moment. So now Jasmine can make any edits, or any of your colleagues making revisions to this. And you can tell if it's a document that you're working on through Filevine, because it'll have like a string of digits and letters and numbers. So this is usually a good indicator to know, hey, this is a document you're working off of in Filevine, and whatever changes you're making here, it's also going to reflect in Filevine. And so I am still a big believer on still clicking on save just in case. I've tested it where I don't click save and it still saves the changes. But again, I'm a big believer on just doing it just in case. And so we're going to click on save, and then we can exit it out. And so I'm just going to refresh this page. And now these are the revisions that, let's say, someone made to the document in the task. And as you can see, it's still locked. But let's go ahead and go to the documents. And when it's locked, it just means that someone has it opened in their desktop and they're still working on it. Again, there's also been times where I no longer have the document open in my desktop, but somehow it's still showing up as locked. And there is a way to unlock it, and we'll go over that right now. So I'm going to go back to my documents because I want to be able to show you guys that it's still just one document. And those changes that we made are also showing up here. So this is all the same. This is still the same document that I sent through the activity feed. This is still the same document that I've sent through the side chat. So if we click on that document here, same one. So as long as you are not creating as long as like you're not downloading and re-uploading it, or just creating a copy, you can edit it all in one place. You can edit it through the documents, you can edit it through the activity feed, and you can edit it through the side chat. But again, as long as it's still the same document and you're not creating a copy of it, or you're not re-downloading it into the document section, or let's say re-uploading it into the side chat or activity feed. Okay. And Jasmine, do you have anything to add there? I think that was.
Yeah, I would say obviously the note this is probably a better option than sharing the URL link, because outside of being able to just edit the document, all of the other items that kind of show up in those three dots are also visible or available in the activity feed. So you can still rename or create a share link or anything like that from the activity feed. It won't just take you straight to the document. So that is an option there as well. And then there are some other questions that have come in, Stacy. So
Yeah, of course.
so once you've already set up a share link and created a password, is there a way to go back and double check the password?
Yeah, there is. So let's go ahead and create a password for this one. And so see how Jasmine created her other. So now there's two links related to a folder. So one created by me and one created by Jasmine. But yes, you can go ahead and uh, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna change this up, and we're gonna now do it with a password. And so let's say this is my password for this. Terrible password, but it's just pretend. And then we're going to go ahead and save this. And so now this is saying that this is now locked. So Jasmine's link is unlocked because there's no password to it, but this one is password protected now. And so I'm gonna go ahead and click on this, and it looks like once you reset, oh, you cannot look double check. I think you're just gonna have to make sure you copy it over to a document. So to make sure that you have a record of it somewhere. And so whether that's in a notes or in an email, um, making sure you copy it. But the good thing is that it doesn't make you add in the old password to create a new password. So even let's say if you don't have that old password anymore, you're still able to create a new one. Um, or you could just cancel the password reset if you end up finding it.
And just a note, if you do ever remove, because you can remove the share links, right, and um, deactivate them at any point here. If you
Hmm.
do that, it removes that log or trail that you saw on the right-hand side. So if it expires, it'll still stay there. If you remove it, it removes it from here. So if you're wanting a running list, you shouldn't remove the link. You can just change the expiration date maybe or something along those lines, or password protected and don't share out the password, and then let it expire so you can kind of see that list there.
Hmm. Exactly. And that was a great question. I could have sworn I thought you can go back and look at your password, but
I think that you
you learn
used to
something
be
new
able
every
to,
day.
because I
Yeah.
remember the same thing. I don't think it's a Mandela effect.
Happened. That is weird. No,
Okay, there's
but
one other question. To
yeah.
be clear, sending via a share link internally or externally, it's sending a copy of the document.
Let me look at that again. I don't think I'm understanding the question. Um, oh, that's a great question. Okay. So sharing externally would be sending a copy of the document unless um yeah,
So they
unless you
can't
have,
edit the document.
yeah,
Even
they
if you
can.
share it with them, they're not going to be able to edit it, but it is whatever document is in there. It doesn't create an additional copy or anything like that. It's whatever you have in that folder. They can download and make edits on their version, but that's not going to reflect in the version that you have. Even if you do two-way sharing, they're not able to edit the document. You
Right.
can always, so what I'll do sometimes to test out my links so that I can see what it looks like to them, and to make sure that it looks the way that I want it to, you can copy the link. If you're, it's not, even if it is password protected, you can copy the link and then just open it in an incognito window. And that will give you an idea, or I guess a regular window too. I always do incognito for some reason. But that will give you at least an overview of what they're going to be seeing in the document.
Hmm. Yeah, I wanted to make sure. I don't think they can edit it even if it's a two-way sharing. Um, yeah, it would only be externally, it would only just be a copy. Sharing it internally, like I said, if you create a share link to share internally, it would be the same thing. They would have to download whatever it is you're sharing with them and make their edits on their own and then re-upload it into Filevine. So that's why internally we highly recommend um, that we use the note this option to share it, or that we use the uh, sidebar chat. And then last resort is the URL link. But yeah,
And if you
like
have the client portal and are using it, you'll be able to send your client documents from there. It will be the same kind of thing, right? It'll be the actual document. They won't be able to edit it, but you can share it through the client portal instead of creating a share link that expires. And then any documents that they send via the client portal will filter into the docs section.
mhm, exactly. Thank you so much, Jasmine.
Mhm.
Alrighty. So so I've kind of jumped around a little bit, but we'll keep going. There are a couple options when you select documents that we have. And so if you have AI, there is a option where the AI can review your document. I think I've seen some prompts where let's say you have a medical record and you want the AI to summarize that medical record. And so if you have those options, neat. If not, let's it's something to look into for the future for sure. And then you can either download it, you can preview it. And so when you click on preview, it'll open up like so. I usually just double click when I want to look at something full view. And editing it with the doc utility, this would be useful for when, let's say, when you open it just like I did, what it will do instead of opening it in a new tab, it will open it in your preferred app that you use in your computer. So if you use Adobe to open up PDFs, it will open up this PDF in Adobe automatically. And any edits you make in while you opened up in Adobe, it will reflect in Filevine as well.
And the doc utility allows you to edit file types that are not supported fully in Filevine for editing. So, like Microsoft Excel, right? You can add Excel documents into here, but you can't edit them in place. So, that doc utility will do that. You do have to download the doc utility app onto your computer, and you can find that in the question mark in the upper right-hand corner of your Filevine on that blue, maybe yours is black bar. And you'll see doc utility app resources. Download that, and then you'll be able to do exactly what Stacy mentioned.
Mhm. Thank you, Jasmine. And then you can also edit it. So if we want to edit this PDF, what we're going to do is we're going to click on edit. And now we have a bunch of options to be able to edit this document. So you can either annotate. And so these are all, I would go through all the options, but really it just takes kind of just playing around with it. And like if you want to go ahead and squiggle something, you can do that. If you want to notate it, you can do that as well and make any comments. And so just know that whatever comments you make do have to either be saved, or if you don't want to save over the original, you can click on this menu here and you can save as. So you can save a copy of what it is that you are editing. Or another option is creating a copy of the document first and then annotating the copy. So you always have the original version no matter what. And so these are just a couple of the options that you get. So you got your annotating options, you got shapes that you can add. You can also redact. So you can either go one by one and redact what you want to redact, or you can, again, click on this menu here and do the search and redact tool, where let's say you want to redact the social security number of your client. And so you want to, and you know the social security. So then you go ahead, add in that social security number. And so now the system is going to search for the social security number and redact it wherever it finds it. I still like to double check it because sometimes if the document does not get OCR'd properly, um, then sometimes it's going to miss some of those characters. So you also just want to make sure that the document is properly OCR'd. And sometimes you'll know if it was or wasn't because you'll get like a little message like right here that says OCR failed. And so typically what I do is I just kind of delete it and then re-upload it again. And sometimes it works. Um, if ever it doesn't work, I usually reach out to the help center to kind of help me troubleshoot the issue. And so next up is you can also insert any stamps. So there are already a lot of custom standard stamps, but you can also customize one yourself. You can also insert a signature. And so you can either draw it, type it out, or upload a picture. Uploading a picture will not save that signature that you uploaded. So I know like there's some Adobe tools that will like save your signature so you always have it available to stamp it onto a document. But in this situation, you'll have to upload it each time you create a new signature or type it out or draw. Okay, and then you can also attach an image um, and add in those little, I don't really know what this is for, to be honest, but there you go. So that way you can kind of this is good for like exhibits, I would say. So if you want the jury to look at something specifically, you can have it error and then type in um, what this might be. So defect, right? And then you can also erase everything if you need to. All right. And there's also measuring options. Again, I often see this more for exhibits or reconstruction of accident scenes. I haven't used it myself, but that's where I've seen these measurement tools come in handy. And then if you are creating a form, you can also create fillable like check marks or any fillable text as well. And if we click on this advanced option menu again, there's also an option to insert pages from another document. So if you have a document that you want to insert into the PDF that you are editing, but you don't want to insert the whole document, you just perhaps want to insert pages 2 to 3, then you can do that. And then you can also let it know where you want the document to be positioned. So let's say I want it in position 2, and then you insert the pages, and now that insert was successful. And so we already went over the search and redact option. Honestly, for me, this was one of my favorites when I had to produce documents. It really did save a lot of time. And like I said, saving as will save a copy of the document and so it won't write over. So let's go ahead and do that. Do PDF, copy. And so we're going to save as. And so now I have a copy of this. And so if I exit out, my Word to PDF is still clean. So all the edits that we just made, they did not override my original copy. And so now I just got to find my actual copy. And also you can start from a folder so that way you don't lose it. So I started from outside all these folders, but best practice is basically to have work within the folder that you want your document to be saved in. And so here's our copy of our PDF document
And
that
for
we
the
edited.
redaction, you have to like click yes, redact this in order for it to out carry over. If it doesn't, it'll just have that kind of like box like you saw on that copy Stacy pulled up. Redactions are permanent. So you'll have like a pop up when you go to approve it that's like, this is a permanent action. Make sure that you want to do this. You can't undo it. And you can choose to redact it from there.
Yeah, so here's the, so right now it's not redacted. We click on that little check mark, apply redaction, apply, and save it. Now saving. So now it's redacted. And luckily we still have our original copy, so we know what was redacted. And then same with Word versions. With any most documents like the PDF and the Word versions, you'll be able to see a history of those. So you'll be able to see the original document and what that looked like, and then the current version. So if you wanted to restore this or if you want to download it, you can do so. Okay.
That version info option gives you kind of like a text box you can type into. So this first version didn't have a redaction in it, so you can put like no redaction or something like that. That way, if you want to restore it, you don't have to download it to see what the document was. You have a description. You're like, okay, great, that's what I want to restore. If you're ever working offline, so Stacy mentioned like, hey, you have a coworker who doesn't have internet right now but wants to be productive, right, and work on documents. You can obviously download, or they could have downloaded this document. Hopefully, they know beforehand. Sometimes you don't, but like, let's say you're going on a plane and you know that you're not going to have access to the internet. You could download these, and then once you work on whatever you need, upload that new version here. Don't just drag and drop it into Filevine, but upload it so
Right
that
here.
you can maintain that version history. You don't have multiple versions of the same document floating around in Filevine. That stacking gives you the ability to kind of keep everything in one nice, neat place.
Yes, great call out. I think that's super important because then you won't have that screen of version history, and you won't know like all the edits that were made or the different versions. Or if you ever need to restore something, you won't be able to. And so uploading from here is what I would say is probably the best practice as well. Okay, so the other things I wanted to go over is combining multiple documents. So I'm going to go ahead, and there's something I wanted to show you guys because something that was a little what I noticed when I used to prepare documents to produce is that for images, I typically always like to edit these images separately with a separate tool. Because sometimes, let's say if we wanted to combine this document um, with, let's say we want to combine it with this one and this one, it can convert it to a PDF, but it's gonna look very, it doesn't always look very well. So if we go ahead and we combine them, um, also, when you combine, you do also have other options. So let's say we selected three of these documents, but you also want to attach other documents from the project. You can do that as well. So let's say I also want to add in this one, then we can do that. Or you can upload it from your computer, but typically best practice is to always make sure that all the documents you need are already in the project. And you can also include a blank document. So let's say first it's going to ask you to go ahead and open it in Word. And let's just say we just go ahead and put exhibit one. So now you can go ahead and you can move that over. Ah, okay. You can also use these little buttons here to move things up or down. So if you wanted to move this at the very bottom, you would just click on to the bottom. And now it's going to move all the way down there. And so let's go ahead and click on next. And you can save it in a specific folder. So for myself, just so I can find it easier, I'm going to put it in the discovery folder, and I'm going to go ahead and combine that.
That page also allows you to change the name. So if Filevine's automatically going to name it combined, the client, I think the project name and something else. But you can change that in the previous screen, or you can change it here if you forgot.
Yeah. So let's say this is exhibit one. So when we click on this is how it converted the image to PDF. So if you ever do want to include an image in a PDF after combining, then I would definitely recommend that you guys edit it separately first and then upload the PDF in your in the file in the documents. Jasmine, do you have any other suggestions for that end? But
So I
typically
think that was
that's
a great kind of call
yeah.
out there.
Alrighty. And so same thing, like let's say after we're done combining this document, we also, let's say we want to bait stamp it. And so there is an option to mess around with the margins so it doesn't write over text. But for this picture issue, it's not going to really do much to help us. But let's go ahead and click on this bait stamp documents icon here. And so since I already combined all my documents that I want to bait stamp, there's no more documents that I want to add. But let's say we do want to add another document. And so we'll go ahead and just click this random one. What this will do is it will bait stamp the document, but it's not going to combine it after it's been bait stamped. So if you want the bait stamp documents combined, I would highly suggest that you combine your documents first, double check it because there's been times where I've combined my documents and put it in the order that I thought I wanted. And then after I bait stamped it, I'm like, oops, I forgot one and it should have gone in the center of the document. So definitely you want to make sure that it's combined and in the order that you want it first. And then that way, when you bait stamp it, everything is all together. That's how you want it. If you don't like to combine things and you like to have it in separate, separate bait stamp, then you won't combine them. You would just attach all the documents or just select them in the order that you want in the docs view. All right, so let's go ahead and click on the next step. And our prefix could be, we'll just do exhibit. And then number of digits, 3. And then we want it starting at page 1. And so this is a preview of what it's going to look like. And when we select advanced options, the location is defaulted to the bottom right, but you can select left, middle if you wanted to. And this is the portion that I was talking about. So we click on increase margin for stamp. What it does is the purpose of that is so the bait stamp doesn't override any text. And there's just been times where I've seen where the original document has like point 0.2 margins, and so that way the bait stamp number won't go over any text, and instead it'll increase that margin size and put it in within those margins. um the default is also to apply it to all the pages. If for whatever reason you only need to apply it to the first page, then you can do that. And then for the font size, we have these options and this size. So once you bait stamped it doesn't give you like a color option. So the only color we have is just the black color. And so let's go ahead and apply these bait stamped. And then once you've applied it, it will automatically save it to a folder called bait stamp documents. So I had originally told the system like I want it under my discovery folder. And now the system created a subfolder that says bait stamp documents. And so when I click on this, here are all my bait stamp numbers. And like we talked about with the picture, it didn't really do much with the margin. It didn't make it smaller or larger, I should say, but it did. Oops, sorry. There we go. It did add a little margin for the bait stamp number. And then here is all of the bait stamps. And so that
Stacey,
isn't, yeah, go ahead.
sorry, another question came in.
Mhm.
So they're still new to Filevine, but when they extract pages from a doc in the editor, the extraction is saved to their downloads or local computer. Is there a way to extract the pages to a new document in Filevine?
Hmm. Okay. So let's check that out because I haven't encountered that issue. Let me see. Okay. So we're editing the document so we can go ahead and extract the pages. And so let's say I want to extract these pages here. Ah, is it just for... Oh, there we go. I always forget that. All right. So if you want to select multiple documents, you want to click on this little select multiple pages icon here. And so let's say we want to extract these last 2 pages. We're going to click on these 3 ellipses, extract. Are you sure you want to extract the selected pages? Yes, I am sure. And so then it goes into my download documents. The only thing that I can think of to extract, I'm trying to think here.
I mean, you did that, yeah, like that insert pages from
Hmm.
another doc. You'd obviously have to have another PDF already created. That's
Hmm.
not one of the like default file types in Filevine.
Yeah.
So what you would have to do is you could create a new blank Word document, convert that Word document to a PDF, and then import the PDF. That seems like a lot of extra like clicks when you
Yeah.
can just drag and drop the extracted.
Yeah.
So for any document that you have downloaded onto your local computer, you can just drag and drop it directly into um, the Filevine Docs section. So that eliminates the step of having to create a Word document and then convert it to a PDF and then import those pages. You just extract and drag and drop.
Yeah. Thank you, Jasmine. I think that's going to be our best solution, but I also think that's really good feedback um, for Filevine. So if you ever have, especially since for newcomers for Filevine that are noticing some things where it's like, okay, why does it tend to work for this, but it will download separately for that? So in those situations, I would highly recommend using the share your feedback tool. This is going to be very helpful for Filevine to know what is it that you would like to see Filevine be able to do. And so, for example, like this new project docs view, it wouldn't have been it wouldn't have come to reality if people did not share their feedback. And so, if extracting documents and it downloading it separately is something that you want to bring up to Filevine, I think that's a good way to use the share your feedback tool. So that way, all your documents on all your extractions are all in one place. Okay. Alrighty. So, we're gonna go ahead and continue on with these options. So we went over the bait stamp, we went over combining documents. Another thing that you can do from here is you can send a document to VineSign. You can tag a document. So if there's multiple documents that you need to tag, let's say you want to tag all of these as uh, produced docs. You create that tag, and now all of these are tagged produced docs. Um, there's also the option to, you can email the documents, but what I've noticed when I do that is that it'll download the email, and then I open it and then I can send it. So typically, what I like to do is I just like if I'm going to go ahead and email it to opposing counsel, I will either download them or, which is the next thing I wanted to talk about, is I try to use the Outlook plugin tool as much as possible. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Right. So let's say I'm trying to email opposing counsel. I'm just going to email the just going to email myself. All right. So you're going to click on this. If you have it on, you might want to make sure you have the Filevine Outlook add-in. If not, you can typically look for it in the apps. But let's say you're already signed in, everything's good to go. All you have to do is now look for your project. And so let's go ahead and look for that project. And then let's say I want to go ahead. These are my recent docs because these are the recent ones that I worked on. And so I want to share this document that I prepared for production as well as this document. And so now you can also just attach it from your Filevine through the Outlook plugin instead of having to download them. And so now these are the recent docs that we attached. If you don't see your document here, then you can go into the attached file docs, select where they are. So let's say my documents are here in the bait stamp documents, and these are the ones I want to go ahead and select. So let's go ahead and do that. And if you don't want to, obviously, if you don't want to share these, you can just go ahead and remove them. Okay. And now that way you don't have to download documents, but now everything that you want to share with someone, you can attach it from the project itself. You can also include the contacts. So let's say if you have opposing counsel as a contact here, you can add them here as well. And this option gives you the option to also include these attachments to the project when you send it out. I would recommend that if it already lives in your Filevine, I wouldn't recommend selecting the attachments because when you select it, it's going to not only create a duplication, but it's also going to save it outside of all the main folders. So if it's already something that lives in your Filevine, go ahead and attach it from there. And there's no need to attach your attachments as well, unless you wanted to. But typically, the less duplicates for me, the better. And then you go ahead and you send out your email. And so, one more thing I wanted to also bring up is when you do get documents from someone and you need to save it um, to Filevine, when you save this, you can click on the Filevine Outlook as well, Outlook add-in. Make sure you're saving it to the right project. So, so this will automatically try to save the email, but also the attachment that you are trying to save to Filevine. If you don't tell it where it needs to go, it's going to save it outside of all of your main folders. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that these are being saved where they're supposed to go. So if you click on this little arrow and you click, let's say you have a folder specifically for emails, then you can save it there. And so now it's telling me that this email is going to be saved in emails. And let's say for the attachment, you want to save it in a specific folder. And let's say you want to save it under intake. And so now it's going to be saved where it needs to go. And then you attach it to the project.
You have the ability to rename those. So for like images, might be helpful for you to rename
Oh, yeah.
before you push them into Filevine. And it was just on that screen above where you selected where the folder goes.
Gotcha. Let's go ahead and
Um,
do that one more
just so
time.
just in case you guys see it, I know we're kind of over time, so I just wanted to point that out in
Oh,
case you all hadn't seen that. The
thank you so
time flies
much.
by. Uh,
It really does.
yeah, and then you can also choose to not include the documents either. There's like a little checkbox. You can just deselect that if you don't want it to come over. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I know you wanted to walk through and see that.
Yeah. So this is where you would go ahead and rename the document. So injury photo, just random. And then you would click save. And yep, so now before you save it, it's already renamed and you don't have to go to the project itself and have to rename it once it's there.
Perfect.
So yeah.
Thank you so much, Stacy, for all of your knowledge. Thank you all for hanging out. I know we're just over time. Thank you all for your questions as well. This will be up on our website. Feel free to check out our free help page to see what free help sessions we have coming up next. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, we put a lot of really great content on there as well. So feel free to subscribe. And we hope to see you in a future free help session. Have a
Yeah,
good
thank
one.
you so much, guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.